Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I want to do something different. I want to do a remix and I wanted to guide you through the process of how you would go about doing a remix. Do keep in mind that I have permission to do this, and I've got a song from Glitch as well as his stems, so that's what we're going to be using for the remix. But without further ado, let's get into the first episode where we just set up the project and kind of get started with throwing down some ideas. Alright, so the remix that I'm going to be doing is from his track Radiation by the Elusive Gluon, which is a collaboration project with Glitch and another artist that left, and Glitch kind of finished off this track. That's kind of how he explained it to me. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but we'll go with that. So this is what we have. We have the track itself that I downloaded, and then here are all the stems in WAV files that he gave me. So this is what we're going to be using, and today we're just going to set up the project, and this isn't going to be a full masterclass, like a full production class or something like that. If you're interested in like a full overview of producing an entire track from start to finish, then you can go in the description to my masterclass and you can buy it there. This is instead going to be a few shorter episodes where I kind of show you how you set up a project. Maybe I'll do an episode on importing your own ideas to a project. Maybe I'll do an episode on kind of arranging something like that. I'll have a few ideas, but I don't want to do it as a full track from scratch all the way from start to finish, as that would undermine the purpose of my masterclass. So with that being said, we're going to start off with the very first thing you need to do, and that is get your reference. So we're going to use obviously the original song for the reference, and I've already imported it once, so it's importing easily. That also means that I know the BPM, which is 136, and that I have my loop point set. So this is how you should have it in your project. You should always have, your original track that you're going to remix in the project, obviously. That's very important if you want to start out, that you have that as your reference, because you know where the original ideas that you're going to implement came from, and how you can put them in your own song as well. And it also might help you with the structure. Maybe you want to copy some of that over as well. So it's just helpful to have that in the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as much information about this as possible and write that down. So we're going to go in notes, and I'm going to make 2 clips here. And the first one will be the BPM, which is, we can just name this MIDI clip here 136 BPM, and this is going to be a white clip so that it corresponds with my reference track, and I know that it's about my reference track here, and black clips are about my own project and white clips are about reference tracks. So that's kind of the system I have for notes and stuff like that. So now that we have that, we need to find the key of this song, which is something I haven't done yet. So let's actually do that. We're going to take an EQ and open it up. You don't want any filtering going on at this point. You just want to open up an EQ, and we'll check for a bass line or something like that to find the key of the track. There's something here happening in G sharp. What we also can do is take one of the stems, which is something that I have. You might not be able to do that, so if you have a very clean bass line somewhere, then you can use that. It's a little bit messy down here, so I cannot exactly tell what's going on. So I'm just going to check the bass line. We'll do the same thing, just open up a audio track, import the bass line, and we'll loop this so we can get the key of this. So you can hover over it, and as you can see, it's a G0 here on my thing. And here we also are around G0. It's also peaking a little bit higher here, so I'm again not sure exactly what's going on, but I think G0 should be okay. And anytime we have an element that sounds out of tune, we can always go back and see if that's correct. I don't know if it's major or minor or whatever, but for me that's not important, because I'm mainly going to be adding my own elements to it. And the only real thing that I'm planning on using is probably the vocals. And maybe I'll chop up some of these other elements as well. But generally when I do a remix, I tend to do a lot of stuff myself. I really hate it when it's just kind of like a repackage of an already existing song, of like an edit or something like that. So I want to add as many elements of my own. So now that we have set it up, we can start maybe getting down a first structure for a track. Now I'd like to copy over the structure maybe. Again, kind of as a reminder of the original track, that would be a good idea. Now what he has done is, as you can see, everything is set up with a bar, and then there's this intro effect. So we have this. And here kind of the vocals come in and the track really starts. And you can see that every drop is kind of offset by one bar from the actual grid. So that's very interesting, but also something we can do. When you want to do that, when you have like an effect that you want to put in there and then you want your whole thing to happen, generally what I would do is produce your whole track normally, so with a normal track structure, and then once you're kind of done already, just shift everything over so that then you have the area to put something in there, and you don't have to produce everything being a bar apart, because that can really mess with you and you can mess up some of the timings. Obviously this isn't the way you would have to do it. Personally, what I like to mess around a lot with the track structure and how it flows. So I might make a longer intro, or I might make a different drop section. As you can see, it's a little bit weird. Normally my drops are a little bit later. So I'll have like an intro that is a little bit longer, maybe like this long. And then we'll have to drop up until here, like up until almost like 3 minutes. And I'll have my break later on in the track. But here the break is very early on in the track. So it's a very different structure than I'm used to. But that's something to, again, experiment with. Maybe you want to keep that in a remix, maybe you don't want that. So I'm quickly going to draw out some basic like structure that I have in mind. And we'll have a drop here. So what I'm doing is I'm just coloring the things depending on what they are. So we have an intro, we have like a build up, and then we have our first drop section. We're gonna have 3 of them here. And then we can have a break. Now breaks are going to be green for me. And we'll have another drop here. And we'll have 3 of them, maybe. Again, this is very basic, so I'll go more in detail and more in depth later. But this is kind of just me experimenting with something that might work or might not work, and seeing how well it fits in the overall track. So we can have 3 drops that are of equal length, which I don't think is a great idea. So we can make one longer. This is kind of a short track, as you can see, it's just 6 minutes. And normally my tracks are a little bit longer, so I might go for a longer structure overall. I might make some breaks in the middle and just build it out a bit more, but this is a general structure that we can follow for a remix here. So now we need to import one of the main elements, so one of the themes, right? Usually when you're doing a remix, you want to take one of the themes or the main elements of a track and build your own thing around it. So here we have like the vocals, which are very nice, and we can use that as our main element. Okay, so here we have, for example, a vocal that we can use. Radiation released from stars. Radiation released from stars. Let's make it longer. Released from stars. So I'm just going to throw this in here. This will be the first element that we're going to be building our track around. So for this vocal, it's always a good idea to have it timed in a certain way. As you can see, this is timed pretty nicely here. Radiation released from stars. That's okay, I guess. So I'll turn on warping here, and now we have to get our own BPM in there. So now it will be timed to, or it will stay on the grid because it's warped. So let's go with a little bit of a faster BPM than the original track. We'll go with a 143 here. And we'll just have this as like an intro thing. I think that will work as it sits nicely in here. I'm sorry. So now that we have that, we can start building some other effects around that, for example. Let's start with like a little squelch effect. And as you can see, what I'm doing now is I'm just setting up the project so that we have a main theme and a main element, and we can start to, you know, put stuff around it and stuff like that, and kind of work out the main idea into a full track. So at the start, it's a little bit boring to just see me make some sounds, I guess, but it's just experimenting, seeing what works and what doesn't, and trying to get a feeling for how whatever is provided to me in the remix can work in a track. And once that's done, we can start like actually arranging it. So what I'll do is I'll make the first few elements, kind of talk you through that, and then once that's done, I'll end this video here and I'll work on it off video, and then we'll talk about arranging a little bit in the next video, and maybe adding more of your own ideas as well in the next video. I'll find something interesting to do with this as well. I want to do a few videos on this, so that's why, as I said, we're starting off like this, and then we'll divide it up into multiple videos, one for each subject. So here I'm just making a basic like squelch sound effect, and this has to go here. Radiation release from something like this, very simple actually, but it might work under our vocals. Obviously it's still too basic, so we need to add some reverb, for example. Now what I would want to do is have the reverb lined up with, or the delay lined up with what's happening in this track. So that is dotted 8 notes. As you can see, it's 3/16 notes long, so that's dotted 8 notes, and that's what we've set up here. So that's already nice, and we obviously also want the ping pong delay so that it's the same. You have it a bit longer. Okay, so that's one of the elements we have. Something else we can do is have the kick already come in. As we have a build up here, I want the kick to be already present here and then kind of low passed, which is a very common thing to do in your build up, is have your kick and bass there in their low pass kind of coming in and announcing the drop. So we'll do that. I'll find the kick sample here somewhere. Let's see, maybe we have something in here. Just recently bought this pack, so I don't know if there's anything good in here. I think we'll go with kick number 3 for now, and we'll have to see how it's tuned. Okay, so we need to tune it a bit lower. Now I like to tune my kick a little bit lower than the root note of my track. That way we have the space we need. So now as you can see, it's F sharp, I would say. And that means that my bass line is going to clash less with the tail of the kick. Obviously this EQ has a filter on it, which we want to remove. We don't want any filtering on there. But the way we're going to do this is we'll just have the 4 on the floor rhythm here for this thing, and then we'll add some filtering to it. Now for filtering, I have my own little rack here which has a nice filter setup already there. The only thing we have to do is go in here into the macros and decide how far we want to go up and down. So with the high pass, I'll go up to like 3K for this one. And with the low pass, we'll go pretty far down so that we can just get like the sub level. So we can get something like this. You can have the high pass as well. Let's do this. Here I want this to be repeating so that it's kind of like a loop. So those are some of the first ideas we have. Again, it's very simple to kind of start working on something and to just throw in your own elements at the start. But it's better, in my personal opinion, to take something like this vocal and try to work some of the elements around it. So we have this effects element that sits nicely in there. We have the kick now lining up with this loop we made. And for example, what we can do is try to find something else that we can use, for example, as a transition element here. So I'll go in here and there's this risers thing, which we might be able to use there. So let's import that and see if we can align it nicely. We'll just take this final part here and then we'll have to set up Complex Pro. In fact, what we can do, we don't even have to do that. We can just set the BPM because we know the BPM of the track. And that should align it with what we have there. As you can see, it's on the offbeat, so I wanted to finish there. But that's okay. Okay, now we can use that and then we can just duplicate this throughout our build-up. I'll leave a little bit of space between the build-up and the drop because that's something I generally like. And now we have our high pass, which should go down here, maybe towards that area. Obviously the kick is a little bit loud, so I'll set this to -8, which is the normal volume of my kick drum. For some reason it's clicking a little bit here. We need to add a fade out to it. So a simple trick that you can do if you don't know, and if you have automation and you want to duplicate like an audio thing, is to group it and then take everything you want to automate on the group and then just duplicate your sample. We had a little bit of a click because of that ending not being you know, torn off. So now we're just putting it back in there and we should be okay. As you can hear, we no longer have that clickiness there. Now we can just remove the group. Okay, so now we have a basic start of our track. Obviously not much. We just started out and we just did like the first 20 minutes of production. But now we can start adding some of the elements and we can sketch out a few of our ideas. And in the next episode, what I'll do is I will take some of those ideas and show you how to combine them and that kind of stuff. And if you enjoyed this, if you just enjoy, you know, producing and giving you these little tips instead of me diving into an exact tip, then let me know. I'll probably do more, as I said, with this project, but I might do even more after that as well. But that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed it, then leave a like. If you're new here, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.